Welcome to another segment of Top 5 of the Week. Before I get into the recommendations I have for you today, I would like to highlight that there are a number of observance days coming up, including World Mental Health Day on Sunday. Check out our social media pages for information about this. Now, on to my recommendations for you this week. First up is the 2020 World Cities Report by UN Habitat on the value of sustainable urbanization. It is a long one at 418 pages, and it reaffirms that sustainable urbanization remains central to overall sustainable development by creating economic, social, and environmental value that supports the fight against poverty, inequality, climate change, and other global challenges. The report highlights that well-planned, managed, and financed cities and towns create economic, social, environmental, and other unquantifiable values that can vastly improve the quality of life of all. Next is a paper that discusses how Africa can transition from the informal to the formal economy. The paper notes that despite the current magnitude and increasing trend of informal employment in Africa, some countries successfully reduced the share of informal employment during the last few decades in different periods. To achieve transition to formality, the report recommends that African countries need to maintain strong economic growth, but in an inclusive and sustainable way, which should focus on employment-intensive growth and avoid relying heavily on extractive sectors with low employment content. The paper stresses that there is also the need to reactivate the structural transformation process through industrial policies. Report number 3 is a mapping of nutrition-sensitive SMEs in Tanzania. The report notes that as much as there has been effort in supporting nutrition-sensitive SMEs in Tanzania by different stakeholders and players, in working to support SMEs to access finance, comply with regulation and standards, access markets, and stay nutrition sensitive and grow, a lot still needs to be done in all areas. The paper points out the following as challenges faced by nutrition-sensitive small and medium-sized enterprises, which are, number 1, accessing capital, especially to the missing middle, challenges with registration and compliance, especially to those in rural and semi-urban areas, challenges coping with regional and global standards, and finally, overall understanding of what it takes to be a nutrition-sensitive product. Up next is a report from the African Tax Administration Forum that considers some responses to the impact of COVID-19 on government fiscal measures from an African perspective. The paper highlights that revenue authorities can only continue to benefit from a similar collection of expert research and practical recommendations. The report notes that the African Tax Administration Forum Secretariat, in partnership with universities and research institutes, will continue its efforts to inspire more applied research on overcoming the COVID-19 pandemic or potential future catastrophes through sustainable fiscal reform. Last, and on the AFCFTA, is a briefing note that illustrates the types of issues that can be approached in the AFCFTA protocol on e-commerce. The paper highlights outstanding issues in multilateral e-commerce negotiations that could be broached by the AFCFTA. The report goes on to portray how COVID-19 will catalyze a restructuring of global production that will sow the seeds for how countries advance into the fourth industrial revolution under the AFCFTA. Those are my 5 recommendations for your reading this week. I hope you have an awesome week. Until next Tuesday, stay safe and goodbye.